also a big fan of K-pop group Idol, and his world skin recall animation is actually a nod to this with a little light stick. On every team he's been on, Flandra has been lauded by his teammates and coaches for his shot calling and game knowledge. So now on Anyone's Legend, he hopes to help them reach the championship and win his second Summoner's Cup for himself. And yeah, just talking to everyone who has played with him, they just all call out how smart he is about the game, what a stabilizing influence he can be on a team.
Thank you for that wonderful episode of Draw My Life. We are so happy to have you do these, to dive into these stories, but let's start talking a little bit about their opponents as well, because it's T1 versus the LPL again in this bracket. So Maurits, what kind of spiel do you have for us this year?
I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed because if you only watch Worlds, which I know many fans do, and you have watched me the last 2 years come in and go to quarters and be like, you know what, guys, T1 really looked like they were struggling in summer. We're seeing some underperformances individually. The meta doesn't really fit them. And then I looked very silly. And it makes me very apprehensive about talking about them today.
I'm going to know how I feel about top esports.
Yeah!
I'm going to make you talk about them, but in a little, because what you're alluding to, the story of today also feeds into that. It is that Faker is the LPL killer, and he awaits them in our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz.
You cannot destroy me.
It's a clash of titans in today's featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz. Anyone's Legend faced T1 for a spot at the World's 2025 semifinals. At MSI 2025, T1 narrowly escaped with a 3-2 victory. But today, AL have a chance to turn heartbreak into history.
Carrier is chasing hope. Owner is there with the CC, and it's T1, baby!
For China, this is more than revenge. It's a chance to prove that the new generation of LPL can rise again. Faker and T1 have long been China's nightmare, repeatedly ending the LPL's dreams, denying the title in both 2023 and 2024. Now, they look to crush LPL hopes once again. Will AL finally break the curse, or will T1 march once again towards another world final?
That is $1 million question today to see our final team that will lock into the semifinals. Will it be this man? And Maurits, when you look at kind of the performances that T1 has had in these previous years and how they've been able to glow up, do you not see the same scenario playing out?
Well, there are a lot of parallels you're highlighting because we keep saying the same thing, struggling in summer, individual underperformances, a meta read and drops that don't quite work out. But I do think we really need to be honest as well. The comparison to the last 2 years to me feels substantially different. I think that the level of play when you look has not just been subpar for T1, which is a very high barrier, but just not that great. This was a team that was the second best in the world at MSI, and those highs, they will have to need to reach today, and thus far the tournament, we haven't seen them even close to that.
I'm glad you touched upon the meta, though, because in both of these cases in 2023 and 2024, like 2023, I remember tracking Carrier's support picks as this bot lane just was running absolutely demonic pushing 2v2s that really caught everyone by surprise. So now with Fearless, I actually am really curious to see what their meta read is going to be coming into today and if they can warp it to something that they're really comfortable on.
It's one of the questions going into today. We know that Owner, if he plays as he usually does, he will be on point, and Lore was able to catch up with Owner in Beijing in the Horizon.
Owner, thank you for joining me after Swiss stage. You just drew Anyone Legends. What was the reaction from the team?
방금 막 스위스 모든 여정 마무리했고 대진이 끝났잖아요. 방금 AL 뽑혔는데 반응이 어땠나요? 첫 반응.
뭐 어떤 상대는 어쨌든 다 잘하는 상대라고 생각했기 때문에 그냥 AL이구나 라고 생각했고, 또 이제 반대편 조가 젠지 하나가 걸려가지고 그게 좀 재밌는 포인트였던 것 같습니다.
I mean, every team is really strong at this point, and after the draw, we were like, okay, we got AL, and then we looked at the other side of the bracket, and we got Hana, Life, Gen.G, so that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, at least you don't get to face off against an LCK team again. Talking about T1, it has been a pretty rough Swiss stage for you guys. Any specifics that you guys want to work on to get ready for AL in quarters?
이제 스위스 스테이지를 좀 놓고 보자면 T1이 많이 고전하는 순간도 많았다고 생각합니다. 이제 8강 준비를 위해서 어느 부분을 가장 좀 나아지게 만들고 싶으신가요?
그래도 뭐 저희가 초반 뭐 설계부터 해서 나아지고 있다고 생각하지만 그래도 중후반에서 저희의 집중력이 좀 더 올라오면 좋을 것 같다고 개인적으로 생각이 들어서 그런 점을 조금 더 보완해야 될 것 같고 그리고 뭐 라인 수업 단계에서 더 발전할 수 있는 것들이 너무 많다고 생각하고 있기 때문에 그런 부분들을 좀 더 잘 고치면 좋은 성적이 나오지 않을까 생각합니다.
Oh, I think we have been improving on the early game setups. I think we still need to focus on our mid to late game kind of focus and how we play out the map. And also, I think we still have a lot of room to improve when it comes to the lane swap meta. So yeah, we are working on those.
Talking a bit more about you, something that we've been saying on the desk is that you've been pretty consistent the whole year. How do you reflect on your performance at Swiss stage and what do you want to work on personally for quarters?
올 한해 또 오너 선수 굉장히 안정적인 경기력을 1년 내내 잘 유지하신 것 같거든요. 본인은 스위스 경기력을 놓고 봤을 때 어떻게 생각하시는지 또 여기는 조금 더 내가 좀 정진하고 싶다 하는 요소가 있을까요?
뭐 그래도 제가 월드를 꽤나 많이 온 걸로 아는데 이번 연도가 그래도 뭐 아픔 이슈도 살짝 있었고 그렇다 보니까 폼이 왔다 갔다 한 전적도 좀 있고 그러다 보니까 이번 연도가 제일 아쉬운 것 같아요 개인적으로 제 폼이. 그래서 이 부분을 8강에서는 좀 보완해서 좋은 모습을 좀 보여주고 싶은 마음입니다.
Well, yeah, I believe I was pretty consistent throughout the time. But this year, especially at Worlds, there were some like injuries going on as well. So I had a little bit up and downs in my performance. So I hope I can do better, feel better, and perform better at quarters.
I hope you feel better indeed. 이tam유 너무 감사합니다. See you in quarterfinals. Jisun, thank you so much as always. And over to you at the desk.
Not firing on all cylinders yet, and I think that's something we've come to expect. Owner has been incredibly stable though for T1 overall, but he has a difficult matchup today versus Tarzan.
And he really does. And Tarzan, for me, thus far at the tournament, has been performing better than Owner, which for me comes as a surprise because Owner, not only domestically, has been a really big deal for T1, but also internationally. If you look back at the last 2 years, right, some of the most iconic plays, the Rel flash of the arrow. But thus far at this tournament, Tarzan, to me, has been the consistency, and if he can keep up the level that we've seen him both domestically and at this international, he should be favored in this matchup going in.
Yeah, the big thing is, can he show up like he has domestically, right? Because he's been such a huge part of this kind of AL glow up. I talked about how important it was for him to join this roster, and he and Kanavi have kind of been those top two junglers across the entire year.
And now I'm really gonna ask you to step up to the plate because we've talked so much about anyone's legend and their strengths because they should come in here sovereignly off that 3-0 with a T1 who had to beat FlyQuest, 100 Thieves, and Koi and didn't even look that good. But is this history of Faker versus the LPL, is it still prevalent today? Are you willing to say that AL should be the favorite?
And this is the stuff of nightmares. When you look at this, I'm dodging your question, Abe. I'm putting it forward because I want to draw attention to the numbers here. Specifically, look at how many of these are starting at 2022. When the four-man core of this T1 roster, that is still there, obviously, only with Doran being the swap out, took place. So many of these are in the current era of League. And if you go beyond the current era, if you go to Faker, he has always made it to top 4, which is still to me one of the most ludicrous stats ever.
So what's the answer?
You're gonna go, let me go first, Emily. I find it impossible, despite all the evidence in front of my eyes, to predict against T1. I just think that this team gets it done when it needs to.
There it is. Let's see what the fans voted for so they can bail out Emily for a second in our MasterCard fan vote on the day. You can vote every day at MasterCard GT on X. And usually they do call the vote for T1 because the fan base is just so big. And it's the same today, 71.3%. Since that went relatively fast, Emily, who do you think is going to take it?
I mean, I unfortunately agree with Chronicler because you want to go into a matchup being like, based on everything we've seen here and based on the analysis, right? It should be AL. I am wondering if they're able to overcome that 3-0 curse, right? And also this T1 curse. I'm still calling it for T1. I can't go against them.
Okay.
Doesn't make any sense.
I see. It's too strong. We've been there 2 years in a row. We've seen it happen in front of our eyes, and that's so hard to dispel. But anyone's legend, they want to dispel it. They are the hope of the LPL. They want to make it happen, and what better place to do it better than on home soil here in Shanghai? Let's get into our last quarterfinal, T1 versus AL.
초에 좀 힘들었던 것 같은데 이제 교체 과정이 있으면서 좀 옛날로 돌아간 듯한 기분이 들었는데
swap positions back in 2021. We will be having
Brace yourself!
T1.
하지만 막다른 길의 끝은 항상 T1 팬들의 응원이었습니다.
A1刚组成的时候，我们当时想着争一下4号种子，能走到现在是没想到的。你如果一个赛段打得好的话，我觉得是黑马的水平。但是如果你一直都是保持在前面的话，这样才能够称之为是一个强队。
A2为师一役，承载着 LPL 的另一半希望，而对手 T1 虽跌跌撞撞，但5冠加身，谁敢小觑？
우리는 작년에도 사시드로 월드 챔피언십에 도달했었습니다. 그리고 그곳을 떠날 때는 트로피를 손에 쥐고 있었죠.
之前没有 LPL 的队伍能够在世界赛的 BO5当中赢过 T1。外界的舆论不管怎么样，我们都是不会在乎的。只要来到世界赛，就想着怎么样才能够走到最后的舞台嘛。
一单输者，当破强敌。
很多人说他是英雄联盟最高的山，最长的河，但我觉得他只是我们下一个对手。
사람들의 모두 우리를 단순한 상대라고 생각하신다면 이미 패배하셨다.
T1 AL Prove your legend and earn your legacy.
《全球的英雄联盟粉丝们，大家好，欢迎来到上海梅赛德斯奔驰文化中心，一起见证2025全球总决赛8强赛。今天的2支战队将会为了半决赛的最后一个席位背水一战，胜者晋级，败者退场。上海，让我们用热烈的欢呼，有请 Edwards Legend 以及 T1。
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Worlds 2025. It's time for the final quarter-finals battle here in Shanghai before we proceed on to the semifinals. 3 challengers have already taken their places in those matchups, and today, Anyone's Legend faces off against T1 for that 4th spot in those penultimate showdowns. I'm Captain Flowers, joined by Dagda and Kobe to bring you the action here between the reigning world champions and China's most powerful team at the tournament thus far.
Everything points to this being an exceptional series. When you look at the 2 titans that are taken to the stage, when you look at the series at MSI, when you look at what is on the line here, everything must be left on the rift here today.
I, for one, am ready for the latest episode of T1 versus the LPL. Daniel Dracos told me that T1 liked those odds, but AL have been looking better at this tournament so far. They are undefeated for a reason.
AL, the last time we saw them play was October 17th, 2 weeks ago on the dot, because they cleared out their opposition so swiftly. And let's not think that that opposition was an easy road. Remember that their best of one victories were against powerful opponents, were against powerful Korean teams. It's Gen.G and HLE that AL has already proven that they know how to get through. They took down CFO, then after in the best of three, dropping a single game, but still winning the series. Anyone's legend is looking powerful coming into this quarterfinal.
Whereas when you look at like T1, the fact that they end up being pushed towards those elimination ones again by CFO, it really does start to raise those questions. Where do T1 stand coming into this? Because they don't look as strong as they have in the past coming into these quarterfinals.
They certainly don't, and a lot of people are looking at the support matchup with Kyle having that big performance, especially versus Gen.G, the Poppy putting the grounding down on Ruler, and Keria not looking like himself, having some mistakes here. T1, they actually had to have Faker, the oldest man at the tournament, carry them here. The thing is with T1 though, they can
yourself!
Unmatched. For tranquility. I can do this.
Strength above all. Fight above all.
Nothing personal, but I need to squash you. You put up a good fight. Brace yourself!
I'm gonna enjoy this. so the fight begins. Our duel begins.
My girl. We never